Right, so paid media is defined as the purchase of ad inventory on a media channel or publisher site to broadcast your brand message and reach your target audiences. So Facebook's got, I've got a stat later on to tell you how many people are on Facebook, right? But Facebook, as an example, and Google and a whole load of other places hold lots and lots of data about you guys as you're surfing around the internet, right? They're called cookies. And these cookies allow these ad platforms to understand who you are so that when you want to spend some money on, say, Facebook, I can work out that you're interested in, or maybe not Facebook, maybe Instagram or any other platform. But basically, it's a way of working out who you are, working out what you're interested in, and then sending that advert to you to try and get you to do something, whether it's buy a product, subscribe to a piece of software, even like things like Netflix, all that kind of stuff. So it's all those ways that you can do that. And basically, there's kind of like three big ways of doing it. One's called SEM, which is search engine marketing. So this is all your like pay-per-click advertising and all that kind of stuff. The other one's display. So it's like all these display ads that you'll see across websites that you visit. And then the other one's social. So all the social platforms pretty much have some form of way of advertising and targeting you on their platforms. So these are kind of like the three big ways of doing it. I want to try and hide that. Right, so this banner here was the first ever display advert on the internet. Does anybody, you can stick it in the chat. Anybody want to guess what the click-through rate of that banner was? So click-through rate is the percentage of somebody seeing it versus then clicking on it. So I'll give you an example. Today, you're lucky if you can get a 1% click-through rate on a banner, like very, very lucky if you can get a 1% click-through rate on a banner. So that was the first ever banner. Anybody want to chuck in the chat what they think the click-through rate on that banner might have been? First ever one in the world on the internet back in 1994, which I'm assuming half of you may not have been born then. Okay, that's cool, thanks. So that was actually 44% click-through rate, which you are never going to get in a million years in today's life, because we've all basically got bored of being advertised to and don't click on stuff. But so kind of a crazy number, really, like from seeing it to clicking on it. And that's what they did. Down on the bottom, you'll see this is kind of some of the work that I was doing with NFL, and this was a banner ad which actually had a kind of scroll in it, and people could kind of select what they were interested in. So we'd actually try and educate them within the advert itself, and then they'd go through and click on it to buy. So there's lots of different types of formats of banner ads. You'll hear lots of names like leaderboards, MPUs, skyscrapers, etc., etc. If you want to go and check out like standard banner sizes, if you need to create any banners for when you're doing advertising, it's worth checking out the IAB, which is, I believe, the International Advertising Bureau, and they have a list of all the different sizes that you might need. Typically, just so you kind of get some understanding of that, Google has its own display network, but it only has one ad exchange, obviously being Google's. So an ad exchange is effectively where you go in and you work out who you want to target, how you want to target them, and then Google goes out and finds them on the internet and displays your advertising to them. But there's also something called programmatic advertising, which has over kind of 20 ad exchanges, including Google's. It costs more money, but it allows you to reach more people. So programmatic and Google Display Network are the two things that you probably want to look out for. If you're just starting off in business, then just, go and hit Google Ads and go through that platform. It's a great place to start. As your brand gets bigger and bigger, you'll want to start looking at things like programmatic advertising as well. So that's kind of a little bit about display advertising. It's a very detailed technical environment quite often. When I was working with the NFL, we were, because through all these cookies, we understood the kind of person that we were talking to. We were delivering something like 16,000 different advertisement placements, all with different messages, all with different languages all over the world. So that's the kind of level you can get to, which then helped us obviously drive people through to NFL Game Pass, so people would buy Game Pass basically. So search engine marketing. So this is when you see this little ad, either, well, it's now here. That's probably the most recent one. That's an old format that you're looking at there. But when you see this little thing called ad in your Google search, that's because basically somebody's paying to be there. So there's two parts to search. One is the search engine marketing, which is the paid piece, and then there's the search engine optimization, which is effectively what they call the organic, or the kind of free piece. These are actually two quite nice campaigns that have been done, one more recently than the other, but they were clever in that. So this one was for the iPhone 6S. Somebody typed in iPhone 6S, and it's actually Samsung that's targeting you, going, awkward, you obviously meant you obviously mean S6, Samsung.com. So it was trying to get people from searching about an iPhone to actually see, oh, there's actually Samsung have got a pretty cool product as well. So it's quite a nice creative way of trying to approach people. And then this one was actually slightly more recently and kind of copying the same idea, but again, quite a nice way of thinking about it. And this was Topshop. Obviously, well, I don't know whether it's obvious or not, but Topshop went bankrupt. I think ASOS have recently just bought them out as an online brand now. But this was Pretty Little Thing, that was basically target anyone that typed in Topshop. They're like, well, come and see Pretty Little Thing. So they've gone with, well, this is Orcs. We'd never leave you, because obviously Topshop did, and they're trying to drive more traffic that way. So it's quite a nice creative way of kind of talking to your audience through kind of a digital platform that's actually typically kind of pretty dry. And then the other piece is social media. And so you've got, basically what you're looking at here is what people plan to do and where they plan to increase their activity in the near future in terms of advertising. So you can see, like, people are looking to spend more money on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, even LinkedIn. Again, LinkedIn is a business related platform. Facebook Messenger as well seems relatively high as well. There's quite a lot there of people who are planning to increase activity across these different advertising platforms. All of these platforms will have ways that you need to go into to do the advertising. So within Facebook, you'll go into Facebook Ads Manager as an example. You'll pick the audience you want to target. You'll choose the budget that you want to apply. And with audience, again, you can look at people's interests, ages, behaviors, locations. All these kind of things can make up a specific audience. You'll choose your budget, as I've said. You set your campaign to run over a period of time. You'll select the creative that you want to use. You upload that all into the system. You hit the go button, and all of a sudden you're spending money on Facebook, and hopefully driving a return on that spend. Right? It's important that you think about, okay, what am I spending this money on? What am I trying to advertise and do? So if there's one thing that you'll learn in marketing, is that 3-letter acronyms are massive. Like, there's just so many of them, it's ridiculous. So here's 4 3-letter acronyms for you now and 1 4-letter acronym. But these are kind of some of the paid media metrics that you need to make sure that you're aware of, because effectively what you're trying to do with paid advertising is spend as little money as possible for the most returns, right? So one thing that you may look for is cost per mil, CPM. And that is basically what it means is the cost to deliver 1,000 impressions. An impression is effectively, if you think of like the Inside Success magazine, and let's say that the Inside Success magazine has a distribution to 1,000 people, and you've placed your advert in that magazine, that means the impression in that magazine is 1,000. Doesn't necessarily mean that 1,000 people will see it, because they may not even open the page to that advert, but it means that that impression has been delivered to that audience. So what you want to do is try and get that cost per mil down, right? The less money it costs to reach 1,000 people, the better off you are in the first place. Then you've got click-through rate. I kind of mentioned that earlier on. So CTR, so this is like from an impression to a click. And what is that percentage? You've got cost per click. So that is if you spend, let's make this fairly easy because my maths is terrible. If you spend if you spend £1,000, which you never should do, on 1,000 impressions, and you get 100 clicks, then the cost per click is £10, because 10 times 100 is 1,000. And then the final one, or the final two, so you've got cost per acquisition or sale, so CPA. So but really this is, if I spend £1,000 again on my advertising and I make let's say I make 1,000 sales, then my cost per acquisition is £1. And again, you want to, hopefully your product costs more than £1, and therefore you begin to make profit. And then the final one is return on advertising spend, or most people say ROAS. And this is effectively that number. So it's looking at, okay, if I spend 1,000, I make 1,000 sales, and my product's worth £10, then I've just made £10,000 from £1,000 in advertising. So that's a good return on investment, right? Return on advertising spend. So these are probably like 5 of the probably really big metrics to look at when you're doing paid advertising. As I said, in terms of if you want to like look at any more of this stuff, it's really a small stage. It's about going into the platforms that you want to advertise on yourself. They all have ad serving platforms that you can go in and do everything that you need to. As things get more, if you work for a big brand or your own company starts to grow, that's when you'll start looking at more things like programmatic. You'll look at things like dynamic creative optimization. You'll look at more kind of audience segmentation, artificial intelligence. All that kind of stuff starts coming into play the more money you have to spend over time. Okay, search marketing. So we've done search engine marketing, which is the advertising side of it. Now we're really going to talk about search engine optimization and a little bit around kind of app store optimization. Anybody know which the most popular search engine is in the world? Okay, Tracy got it right immediately, correct. Anyone know which the second, not including YouTube, search engine is in the world? Okay, well, here it is. Google has 91.4% of the global search engine market share. After that, it's Bing, which is Microsoft, if any of you guys know or have heard of that one. Then you go into like Yahoo, which is kind of probably more states-based. Yandex and Baidu are, I think, kind of Asian, Chinese. DuckDuckGo, if you ever want to do any searching and not have any kind of anybody tracking your search, go and check out DuckDuckGo. That's pretty cool. And I have not even heard of Sogo. I've not even heard of that one. That was a new one to me. But you can see, like, basically, it's Google, right? if you're going to do anything on a website to improve your search engine optimization, you should just really think about Google all the time. Google changes its algorithm quite regularly to try and stop people basically cheating the system. When Google first came out, one of the things that it used to do to measure if a site was valuable to a user or not was look at how many backlinks that website had. What backlink is effectively another website having a link to that website, your website. Let's say it's your website. So another website having a link to your website was effectively a backlink. So what happened was there was loads of like everything happens where we get bots in social media. There was loads of bots going out on the web just dropping links all over the place. Google would find all these links and go, oh, your site must be really valuable. I'm going to put you right up the top when people search for you. And Google learned over time that, okay, it's not just about what the link is, it's also about where the link is. And there's a thing called, which I'll move on to now, called domain authority. So really, like, Google's looking for how important does your website look to a user, and there'll be a few things that determine that. One will be like load time. One will be, is it mobile? Is it a mobile ready website? Which I know that may sound daft in this day and age, but that's still actually like an important thing. It will look at all those backlinks that you've created, but it will want to make sure that where there are other links linking to your website is they're valuable and relevant to your website. It will look at how long do people spend on your website, how many pages do they click through after they've hit the first page. So it's all these signals that Google are using to try and work out, if somebody searches, so let's just say you've got a t-shirt brand, if somebody searches for male t-shirt, am I going to serve up your website or am I going to go and serve up somebody else's? And those are all the things that it's looking for. And there's effectively like two things with SEO generally: the technical stuff, so that's like page load time, is it mobile ready, does it have all the correct meta text, body content, does it have things like H1 and H2 header tags, what's the name of the URL, does it match the page name, do we see, and again then you get into the content, does the page name, the URL name also, can you see that copy in the body content? So in other words, the text that's on the page. So it's looking for all these types of things. This is obviously a pretty horrible looking web page from back in the dark ages, but you can kind of see where everything is. So you've got critical success factors for a lean Six Sigma, and then you'll see here that that's also within the H1 header, the header one, so effectively the title. You have alt tags within the pictures. You need to make sure that you don't just slap any old image up there, that you apply alt tags. It's got like meta descriptions. There's lots of kind of conversion links to internal parts of the website as well, and some outbound links to other places as well. So these are all the things that you need to be thinking about when you're creating that page. If I talk about backlinks quickly, so there's a good website called Majestic SEO. And this is like a cool little tool where you can go, if you've got a competitor brand to your own brand, you can go on there, you can type in their website and you can see how many backlinks they've got. And actually what you can then do is you can click down and get some additional information and find out actually where those backlinks are. And then you can go and try and get your links on those websites that they're working on as well, and may give you inspiration about, oh, how can I get a link from that website onto my website? This is the BBC. You can see they've had 14 billion, almost 15 billion backlinks to their website. Obviously, that's going to be, the BBC is going to be massively high. You can kind of see that a lot of it, external backlinks. So talking about App Store optimization, if any of you are up for building an app anytime soon, that it's also important that if you build an app, that you optimize your app in the App Store, because they say that 65% of downloads come after somebody searches for something through the app stores. So there's some important things to do. You know, make sure your app title is a searchable, and subtitle is a searchable title. So a good example here, right, is you've got this plane finder flight tracker here, and they've just called this flight tracker there. Obviously, this one actually looks like they've installed it on their device from the screen grab. But again, it's very, very obvious, does what it says on the tin. If you're going to create an app and it's around a like a brand name, but your brand name doesn't really explain what you do, you really need to think about what is your what are you going to call that app. It may not be your brand name. It may be that you just kind of brand it as the brand, but call the app something else to make it really easy and findable. It's also important to create the right screenshots as well. You can see this one here where they've kind of done this kind of crossover thing. They've even put in here things like, oh, it's app of the day, whenever that was. It's got 5-star rating. So kind of tried in here to kind of really like level up what it looks like. You've also got things like reviews and ratings, like I would say probably one of the most important things for the App Store as well. And obviously, the more downloads you get, the more the app stores understand your product to be popular and therefore will serve it first. So places to go for anything SEO related is probably Google Analytics to start off with. You'll see through Google Analytics where people are coming in from. And there's also Google Keyword Planner that sits within the ad platform, Google's ad platform, and that can help you work out what ads, what keywords you should be using when you're doing your search engine optimization.